Hello, and welcome to me. So, I am doing this vlog for the purpose of reinforcing my memory and my understanding of what is my greatest weakness within myself, my mind, my body, and in my life. Weakness in the sense of it is where I react, it is where I enter into the reaction most easily, and the reactions are of the highest intensity, and it is the part that creates consequence and is where it's most difficult for me to express myself, as my expressions, which I have developed already for many years across other areas of my life that are different than within my weakness. So I believe we all do have some kind of great weakness, and we also all have some kind of strengths as well. So I do encourage you to, as an individual, to focus on what your weakness is and be aware of it and be honest about it, and to not be hard on yourself for it, and to also do what I'm doing, where to walk it within understanding. To walk it where the information is clear, the words are clear, where you are able to talk about it with any other person within detail, because you have that understanding of what the patterns are and what to look out for. So that is what I'm doing here with this video, is to help myself to speak the points, because here I have a very long document, which is a mind construct, which I started through the Desteni I Process as part of my coursework. And here it explains in detail the memories and points, and with the forgiveness. It's a very long document, and there's a lot of information. And so what I can do is to almost kind of explain it and almost kind of like memorize it, but more within my living and my understanding, so that it becomes part of me, and it's very natural to know my patterns, especially in this area, because in all honesty, the second that I start looking towards my mind construct to remember the memories or remember what I went through in my weakness, I immediately get scared again. And that's okay, because this is my weakness. This is my greatest weakness. And I understand that point. And it is going to require a different kind of approach than all the other times where I faced myself, my mind, and all sorts of various different things, where I didn't really have to, let's say, put as much, let's say, effort and attention and use different techniques and skills that I am planning to do here with my weakness. So just to start explaining what this is, it is simply that area of life. My greatest weakness is the area of life where dealing with relationships with women of the romantic kind, where you're with a woman and in that interaction stage. Of course, me as a man, saying that, with a woman, for other people, of course, if they're gay or they're, lesbian or whatever, or if you're a woman, then, heterosexual with a man. But the point is, that romantic relationship dynamic where all of my experiences and all of my pre-programming, which is a time period in elementary school, middle school, high school, where I was still a kid, let's say living or developing, how all of the programming, all of it was geared towards relationships with women, having crushes with women, or I guess in that time it was girls, because, I was a boy, but how all of that was, designed as a weakness of mine. And across my life, it's definitely my greatest weakness. My area of my life, like I said, with my mind, where it's most intense, most powerful, where I go into the reaction most easily. So it's really to understand that point, and then that's okay. That is where I'm at. You could say that's where I was born, if you want to say that. That's the situation where I find myself in. That's what I've been given as my challenge for life, you could say. So, so, also, I was just explaining about the developmental years, but then when I was more into actual relationships, that greatest weakness, it relates to also being in a relationship where how we talk to each other, me and my girlfriend, at the time. I can also just say me and my partner, however you want to say it. But it's those kind of relationship dynamics of fighting or of communication, of speaking, and that awkwardness, and trying to be yourself and presenting a false image and wanting to be liked and wanting to serve the other person, wanting to make the relationship nice and work and good. All of that conflict, all of that emotion, all of that insecurity, all that feeling like you're afraid of it ending, there's so much within there. So it has to do with a lot of that. We're simply already within dealing with a woman, who I become, all the emotions that come out, all the reactions come out, how I change and how I speak, how I, become a worse version of myself, a lesser version of myself, and what I say and what I do being very compromised. So there's a lot of information here, and I'm throwing a lot of words out there, but it is really so packed with information. It's quite incredible, and that's also maybe even the difficulty of working with it, because there's so much. And yes, so I'm just gonna do this as a long video, and it's just gonna be what it's going to be, because I do just want to walk this in one go. So again, the purpose of this is for me to reinforce my understanding, and especially work with my fear, because even wanting to look at this mind construct that I wrote, I'm afraid. Just to be honest, I'm just reacting within fear, and it sucks. So I'm not afraid of speaking the point. It's not about that. I am literally just afraid of, again, walking the memories, because I don't know if you know what a mind construct involves, but it does involve walking a present event memory and then walking past memories. I'm not going to go into detail of mind constructs. I'm not here to explain that point. To teach, this is part of the Desteni process coursework, where they walk you through it slowly. So I suggest signing up for that and doing that. But just to explain the point, so I can explain what I want to explain. It involves, like I said, a present memory, present event, and then past memories that are connected to that. So, for me, every time I was walking through this mind construct, every time I had to remember the memories in order to work with them, I would still have reactions. And I wrote so much. And normally when I would walk something, I'm with any other type of area of my mind that's not this area of romantic relationships, I am able to like almost embrace it and hug it and know it so intimately. Like really go into the memory, really do the forgiveness, really align myself with oneness and equality with that person or with that thing or what's happening, and really place them here as me and live the point. But within this area, it's like, no, it's like, it's way too much, way too difficult. So this is, like I said, my weakness. So just to explain why I'm afraid. But I'm not really afraid of speaking the point. The information, the sharing, it's not that big deal. So here I was faced with, I had an event where I was approaching a female that I was going to ask them if I could get to know them, spend some time with them. The idea was even to like, oh, we can go eat something at the cafeteria and hang out and just talk for a bit if you like that. Because we were kind of, at least in my mind, we were kind of connecting a bit, and maybe there might be something there that would be interesting to see who she is as a person, because I really don't know her, and I wanted to ask that of her. But okay, so that was my intention. So I was approaching her with the intention, and that's the start of the memory. That was my decision. But as I was approaching, as I was walking down the stairs, already all these reactions came out, and it's like a matter of like 30 seconds or 15 seconds, how time moves. But within that, all these reactions were coming up, which I didn't know exactly what was going on. And so yeah, so basically I was talking to her, and then there's a lot of relationship dynamics that came out wherein I was talking with her, where kind of like looking at her and interpreting how she was feeling, and not wanting, and seeing her that she was maybe like kind of bothered or upset about something, but I didn't want to ask her, because I feel like if I were to ask her that, then she would get upset and mad at me. So I avoided asking her about that at all. And it also, approaching her within that point of panic already, and already what I wrote here, what I realized is connected to the past, is seeing myself as not good enough, as I'm not able to, I don't have enough value, I don't have enough worth to really do this and, let's say, make this happen, or even not just ask. And within myself, who I am, it's like a point of I don't know what to say to her, I don't know what to do, I can't do this. So having all these kinds of different reactions, and simply, so instead of asking her about how she was doing, I just a point of like, hi, I said just hello, like hi. And she says hi. And me kind of going to a point of being like an analyst, analyzing the situation, looking at her face, seeing that she is smiling back, so seeing, okay, I can talk. So that's one pattern of mine, of like being in a situation, being in the moment, constantly analyzing how the other person is, how they're doing, what to say, what to do, based on what I'm seeing, so as to be better or do better. So for example, I saw that she was perhaps upset about something or bothered by something, so I avoided asking her that because I don't want her to blame me if I were to ask her about that, because my past memories with the women, when I would ask them this kind of thing, it's almost like as if, here I'm being very general because that's how I've been living it, as a belief that if women blame me if I ask them how they're doing and they're upset, and then they put their upsetness and anger at me. So obviously all women don't do that, but that's kind of like the pattern, that's the belief, what I lived in relationship dynamics with past girlfriends. So that is, that's why I didn't want to also bring that out, me and being my analyst, controlling, kind of almost like a machine robot of like wanting to calculate and make things perfect. So I feel like, okay, if I ask her, I'll bring out her emotion, and so then I can't ask her this question, or things just would be bad in general. I mean, practically, like now just speaking the point aloud and walking in real time, it's clear that, well, I don't have to ask her now. If she's upset, maybe she's upset, and I should just support her within that and ask her another time, for example. Whereas for me, I was kind of ready on that route of, okay, I made a decision, and now I'm in reactions. I'm ready in some form of reactions of panic and fear, and the river of that flow is already going, and I can't get off that ride. I'm ready on this, and I'm stuck here, and I have to do this now or never. And so that's, part of my patterns, being the analyst and like analyzing, and as well as manipulating, controlling situations and what I'm saying based on what I'm seeing. So here it was. So within that point of analyst, I said something that would be very odd to say. You know how sometimes when you're talking with, let's say, a crush or someone, you say something very odd or something very weird. So that I'm seeing here is because when we're thinking too much, when we're analyzing, we're actually not being natural in ourselves. We kind of think of those things to say, and then we say those things. And when in reality, when it's planned like that, when it's controlled like that, it's never natural and it sounds weird. So I said something like that, and then I saw myself as being rude and being, kind of judging myself for what I just said, which is, of course, a different kind of character. Judging myself for that. But obviously, what I was living was still a point of, of the analyst. So it's just both things happening at the same time. So there I was, judging myself for what I just said, and I was pushing myself just to keep going, and there I was seeing a point of her, okay, maybe not hearing me and kind of being ignored. So then I was reacting within that point of being ignored, where I said something and the woman didn't respond, and that's very connected to past memory situations with women. romantic relationship partners, girlfriends, and just in general that point of be ignored, like, and that's a very specific trigger that is a very powerful trigger for me. Where then in that moment I really became a point of anger, of like feeling like I was powerless in the situation because the person is ignoring me. And I do not want to be ignored in this context with a woman, because if it's in other contexts with, let's say, a man or a friend or whoever, or be ignored, it's not such a big deal. Whatever that relationship dynamic may be. But here specifically, especially I guess because most people don't really ignore you. But in my history, life history, it's very common, I suppose, in relationship dynamics. Well, I don't know. But anyway, getting sidetracked. So first, the clear point is that it's a trigger. It's a pattern of mine of getting extremely angry and like kind of wanting to control the situation and being more powerful within that. So really, then I started directing her with specific questions of like, okay, what's your view on this thing, on this topic, on this subject? So, I'm not going to the point of asking her what I wanted to ask her. I'm just wanting to get her attention almost and engage in a conversation. Because I'm still afraid of actually asking her that point. I still have that point of worthlessness on a dimension of mine. But right now on the surface, I'm living this point of wanting to be dominant and being assertive and directing the conversation, because she was ignoring me as I was perceiving it. So then there's a point of more explicitly, more like asking specific questions about topics, and this had a whole conversation dynamic of that point still of presenting myself a certain way, focus on my perception of how she perceives me, wanting to be liked, at the same time wanting to be honest. And then so I'm saying things that again are very calculative and very out of the blue about, okay, this is my deepest view on this point in a few words, for example. And me sharing my deepest view on the subject in this conversation, how she didn't really get it, and how I felt offended on that point. And again, that point of let's say anger of her, seeing kind of her like rejecting me, she rejected my deepest view on this subject. And in practicality, in reality, it's never practical in a conversation just to like drop your deepest view on something with someone that you really don't know. And that's never practical. That's common sense. But for me, it was in a point of reaction of, okay, am I being honest? Am I being my real self? What is my view on the subject? And it's kind of like that point of already kind of just panic and just emotion and just. So it's almost as if like I wanted her to reject me almost. I wanted to like almost make it the most difficult way possible for her to actually even want to get to know me. So looking at this whole entire pattern so far, so already was kind of very interesting how this all opened up and played out. And so anyway, how she was very stable within how she was. She was just being very respectful, not going to the points really. And so basically that ended there pretty much. Like once I said those things, she said something, then I said something, then the conversation kind of just ended out. And had my reactions of yeah. So that's the basics of it. So the highlights of it, well, so far the highlights of it is the feeling worthless, because when I opened up my past memories, which I don't know if I'm going to open up here or not, but when I opened up my past memories from years and years ago, and again, what I described was more of a present memory, like the most recent memory that opened up as a mind construct. But in the past memories from years and years ago, the point of worthlessness was a very common theme. Point of approaching a woman um, within any kind of intent of, like, say, getting to know her or ask her out or anything like that. It was already a point of, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm worthless, I cannot do that point. So that's a very common theme, pattern of mine, and that's very important. That's like the first step within any kind of approach like this, or any kind of relationship dynamic like this. And so that's the first pattern to focus on. The next pattern, as the overall design, includes being ignored and going to anger and trying to control and dominate the other person, to have them pay attention to me, and kind of like, I don't want to be ignored kind of thing. That's the second point, which I just know that I've lived that, and it is a common thing for partners to try to attack each other through ignoring each other, and the other person reacting, for example. But for me, at least, my memory was more the point of, after a relationship breakup, how the person ignored me, how they treated me like an absolute stranger. That was my past memory, where after I was broken up with, they did not want to talk to me at all, even though we were kind of sometimes bumping into each other, and just a complete ignoring of me. And after that, where it was a relationship, where I was intimate with this person for some time, girlfriend, boyfriend, after that and being ignored, that was like a huge point for me of reaction, where for there I felt very alone and powerless and depressed. So this anger point is more the point of, I do not want to be there and feel alone and depressed and have that sense of loss. So that point of anger is more like, I do not want to feel that. So I have to avoid that. I have to get out of that somehow and be strong somehow. So that's the pattern, is what I'm seeing of what I've lived in the past, and here in that recent event, you could say. So that's the second point. So we have the worthlessness point, and we have the being ignored and going into anger to avoid that powerlessness feeling. Another point, what else? Come on, tell me. What is it? I don't know, I guess little things like, not being concerned about whether she accepts or rejects, like, a deep view or my perception on something. Not to take that personal, not to actually drop those things. That's more of a general point, I suppose. Looking more like the heart of it. So one point is a point of not wanting to ask her how she's doing, if she's upset, because I do not want to be lashed at, or not want her to bring her rage onto me, and just be honest about where she's at, and to not actually push her, and not actually try to ask her something that she may not be in a space within her mind and herself to actually answer, which would be like, can I get to know you? So, that's another point. It's a more subtle point, I suppose. So it's more of that, not, because I was already like on that train ride of like, okay, kind of, I'm panicking because I feel worthless, and I feel like I cannot do this, so it's kind of already feeling like I had to do this. So it's more the point of, being aware of what is actually here, what is the state of the other person, what is actually best for them. And so really the best thing would have been just to like ask her how she's doing and just kind of leave it there. And if it opens up in a conversation, fine. If not, then I just walk away and just approach another time. That requires a lot more on me not feeling within panic and afraid within already approaching her, because at the point of being worthless and feeling like I cannot actually do this. So I feel like I would have to do it now, which of course I don't. So with all my past memories, the heart of it in the past memories, patterns. I'm just gonna go really quick. However long it's gonna take. It's already gonna be a long ass video. but there's patterns here. Let's start. So one is definitely this point of within already the first night of starting a relationship with someone, where I kind of asked her in a roundabout way whether she wanted to go out. But already within that point, and this is the key point here. That's why I'm focusing this on here, where within her being very positive, within wanting to go out with me, I couldn't be open, I couldn't be vulnerable, I couldn't ask her, I couldn't be my natural self with her. Even though she was positively saying that yes, she wanted to, let's say, spend time with me, get to know me, I couldn't be my natural self. It's as if the point of, even with her being positive, this woman, in my past, I just became afraid of being myself and losing that. So it doesn't matter whether a woman is being negative or positive, my pattern is to still be afraid of losing her, being afraid of being my natural self, being who I am, and just speaking myself. And so I become very tight and constricted, and being very expressionless and not expressing myself naturally. So being very expressionless, so very cold face in a way. You're very like simply a simple smile kind of thing. Being very controlled in my expression, so I try to control her perception of me. And so that's a very interesting pattern, and I see that in that present recent event, where I was very much definitely controlling myself. Well, that's the pattern I missed. Being like an analyst, being very calculative, because I see this point of being like an analyst coming from all my past experiences where relationships ended and feeling like I had to control my expression and want to control the outcome, and I'm not good enough by myself naturally for this to even work. So that's the other pattern which I missed, and to be honest, like, there's just so much, and there are so deep levels of reaction within me that's kind of like all cut off and compartmentalized, and it isn't something that is information which is natural and immediate and here for me to use and understand in a real-time moment. which is why I'm making this video, so that I can have greater access to that through just that point of talking about it, understanding it more, kind of reinforcing it, and really bringing it here so I can use this information when I'm actually living, that I integrate it within myself. I integrate the solutions within the understanding of my patterns, these deep-rooted patterns. So that's another key point. And so going on here, so I have a feeling I might have gone through everything, but I'm just going to double check really quickly. Obviously I didn't go through all the memories, but it was about the key points from the memories. That's what matters, is for me to reinforce the understanding of my patterns. That's what I have to take away from this. So okay. So as far as I can tell, those are the key points. And yes. I suppose one interesting note is that because of my feeling of worthlessness, then feeling like I can't be with a woman or ask her out, how that led me to entering into certain relationships in my past very easily, because I just, in a way, I just wanted to be with any woman as long as I was accepted. So I kind of explained that point, but in a very deep sense, simply to direct the point of, I'm going to ask this woman out. I'm going to even just ask her, can I get to know you some more, because that's not really a point of asking someone out on a date. Can I take you on a date? That is more of a point of, I would just like to get to know you more as people, as friends, and just, you know, that was my original intent. But obviously, because of how I've lived my patterns, it blew up into my whole relationship dynamics from past girlfriends, you know, because that's very much what the trigger is. Like, you're one-on-one with a woman, and these kind of points are coming out, and even just a hint of it is just, you know, I'm dealing with very strong fucking points here. So it's like, this is my greatest weakness, so of course it's going to come out these ways. So here I wrote my conclusions from my mind construct, and it is covering pretty much what I said. Very much controlling myself, kind of being very frozen, being very calculative, analyst, using that point of the anger and aggression in order to avoid feeling like I'm being ignored, feeling that, going to that point of that memory of how I was broken up with and ignored. Also, one point I missed was how in that present moment, that recent event, that present event, present times, present times, how it ended with me asserting myself and being in that point of ego where I felt like, okay, well, at least I ended on a high note of me being, let's say, my best self in terms of this is my viewpoint, um, saying that this is who I am, sharing my views on the subject, and that I am happy then with that, even though you reject me. So that is that point of ego there, wanting to feel like I end the conversation with me being the winner. So there is that point there, which is very much, a relationship dynamic when you're fighting with someone, and you want to be on top at the end of it. So that's another point that's worth pointing out. And so again, I'm still within that point of fear a bit, and that is more the point of being like a distraction, or kind of like making it a bit foggy to really see everything together at once within me clearly. So it's very much a point of this whole process of walking this mind construct was the whole point of real pushing, and a real having to find very interesting tricks and very interesting ways to approach it to make it possible to do this. And so it is very interesting. I've had to definitely push and do my best, and having to just keep trying and trying and trying. So I'm just going to review really quickly. You're at the point of being worthless, and that leads to like panic, and that leads to also me not wanting to ask a woman a difficult question if she looks emotional, so I don't want her to bring her emotional wrath onto me, and then me wanting to control the situation, control what I say, and not feeling like myself, my natural self, is good enough. And then so being from that point of being very calculative and being like an analyst and saying things in a very controlled way, and then being ignored as a trigger, and that trigger leading to me being angry, so I avoid that experience of feeling like I'm alone and powerless and depressed from my times where I was ignored after a breakup. And so then me trying to direct the conversation so that she pays attention to me, and then me trying to, let's say, be honest, or I guess trying to have her hear my deepest view to see if she accepts me or rejects me, I suppose, as a way so that she doesn't actually have to answer whether she was interested in getting to know me or not. And so ways to like roundabout, for me at least, believe I can justify, okay, or at least believe that she's giving me an answer. Of course she's not, but then ending course that I am good and I am right, and yes. So I don't that definitely does not cover the detail of it, but I do need to increase my understanding of it. I do need to increase my understanding of this, because it is something very difficult for me to physically walk through. So my corrections would be along the lines of stopping the plan of being worthless, of being myself, being natural, and treating her as a human being, as my friend, not as a relationship partner, or how I lived my dynamics in a relationship in the past. To really stop those points, and to just be myself as a normal person, human being, as my expressions. And so that's like the key point. to start with, then also being okay in the moment of being ignored or not being heard, to really still be myself, which obviously would be just to ask her another question again, see if she heard me, or if she's just like, upset, just leave her alone, like if she wants to ignore me. But to not go into that relationship dynamic and not enter that point of control, but just to continue being my natural self, like who I am in all these other areas of my life. That is the main correction goal, and it is very general, but it is, let's say, the point. Some living words obviously would be patience and slowing down, so I give myself more time, so I do not go into the points of reaction, and to be open to just it doesn't have to be now. It doesn't have to be a point of panic of like I have to do this now. So again, point of patience, a point of giving myself more time, a point of slowing down, because within that panic it does feel like I have to do this now, and it is a point of getting out of control. And so that covers the most of it, I suppose. And yeah, I'm still having the point of fear because, like I said, this is my greatest weakness, so I understand that and I support myself within that. And it's going to take whatever it's going to take to walk, and eventually I'm going to walk it, and eventually I'm going to ask women out. I'm going to walk those kind of points, or even just getting to know women, whether whoever they may be, just the point of kind of get to know you, because that's very natural and very simple, where it's not really a point of asking out on a date. It's simply a point of I want to talk more kind of thing. It was much more natural, much more friendship related, and so that will allow me more to walk the points. And asking someone out on a date is also really cool thing to practice. Another cool point for me to face myself within, because when you are in that, or when I am in that point of one-on-one with a woman in that kind of context, it's like that's where I'm going to be facing the points more deeply, and ideally I walk as much as I can within this, because when I do start actually a kind of an agreement, a relationship with a woman, in the romantic sense, I do not want to start such a relationship without having walked these points, because I have to walk as much as I can in these stages of relationship, because otherwise I'm going to be pretty much screwed, because it is my greatest weakness, and me trying to walk that real time while starting a relationship with a woman will just be way too much. I just know that, because I know this is my greatest weakness, so I need to do everything I can to walk as much as I can within the reactions that are here, even before even I'm in a relationship. All these points are simply talking to a woman and getting to know them, and so this is the plan, and this is the most effective supportive plan for myself, and walking this out loud and with an understanding of the patterns is what will allow me to achieve more success, meaning to stop with the reactions and to be myself and to be natural and live all those expressions which I can live very easily with my friends, which are mostly male and then some female. But it's very natural, very easy to live that with them. So I know I can live it because I've lived it in many areas of my life. It's simply that point of facing these reactions and really doing this. And that's going to be a physical process, which is going to take physical time and physical applications across a long period of time, years probably. But however long it's going to take, I'm going to walk it. And then this will be me walking my greatest weakness, and then me actually be able to start a relationship or an agreement with an individual, and where I can be myself for real. And really, with that being my greatest weakness, I mean, that's going to be amazing to actually walk that. And I walked a lot in my mind in my process, so to walk that would be, let's say, a real crowning achievement, a real point of pride for myself, where I'm actually able to walk that and actually receive the gifts of having such a relationship agreement. And something I realized too is just that it's not practical to expect any woman out there right now in the world to have any kind of stability or patience to simply accept me as how I am, because how I am in that relationship context is a lot of reaction, is being very unnatural, and like how I explained all these points here, it is a lot, and I'm not going to find some woman who's going to just accept those points and just like walk them with me, because it is more to expect than for any person, really. I'm not going to just, what I'm saying what I'm saying is I'm not just going to wait here and look for someone to just be that kind of level of patience and understanding and acceptance, because then I'm just waiting, then I'm just hoping. And so I do not want to just wait and hope. I want to do my best effort, and maybe I won't get to that level of perfection or even averageness, but let's say I'm right here and this is like average and this is like perfect. Maybe at least get to here, like in the middle between average and it's like about getting to wherever I can get to, and simply being honest with the other person about where I'm at, and not expecting them to do anything or be anything. Kind of like setting my expectations very low, and just focusing on myself and having that patience, and also not wanting to give up the hopes up, not wanting to give up the hopes up of the other person, and obviously not wanting to enter into a relationship that wouldn't be appropriate, where they are not stable enough within themselves and they are desperate for a relationship. And then, I mean, that's something that I've already learned and walked already. I'm like, everything I explained here in terms of relationships, in terms of my emotional reactions that are negative, those are my Achilles heel. Everything else in a relationship I'm cool with. Meaning that dealing with women who are literally throwing themselves at you, who are obviously just more of a point of physical attraction, which is more during the college years, more of a point of, I guess, puppy love, or very fluffy kind of love, or just everything else, like positive energy, all those kind of things, those I'm stable within. just everything I shared here is what my weakness is, which is more the point of reactions and emotions and being worthless and going to fearing that the relationship is going to end and all these kind of things. That is where my weakness is. But in the positive energy sense and all these other sense which other people have, maybe weaknesses in, I'm stable within that. So the chances of me like being caught up in positive energy and going to a relationship with someone I'm not supposed to be with is like very low. So I am stable enough to go on dates with women, and if there's a woman who's like just desperate for a relationship or is very seductive or very charming, that's definitely not something I have to worry about, because that's not a weakness of mine. So that's very interesting. I mean, that's something I walked already. That's never really been a weakness. What's more been a weakness is because I walked the point of women, women who aren't supposed to go out with me really, because even though I could have said yes, because basically, to say very plainly, women who were younger than me and I was like the older college guy, and I was like, they just wanted to, because I was like all cool because I had a leather jacket on. And anyway, the point is, I did not go into those points, even though they obviously were interested in me, because I knew that they're young, they're innocent, and they just really want something, and it's not really about me. So that's why I just know that's not honest. It isn't honest to start that kind of relationship, and for them, I wouldn't really be in a relationship, even though when I was their age, you could say that's how I was. I did just go with anybody. That's one thing I definitely learned very quickly. So I'm definitely stable within that. But there's no way that I would go into dates and get caught up within that. So that's cool that I have that, and it's just more of this area of actually wanting to approach a woman with actually the intent of actually getting to know them and actually really building an agreement, actually really building a relationship with a woman, in a serious sense. And this is where my weakness is within my past relationships that's preventing me from doing that for real, and because of all these negative things. So that's where I am at, and that is quite cool. And with time, I will do it, no matter how long it takes. With time and application, it's going to happen. So that's quite cool to say and to affirm as well. And yeah, this is where I'm at. So this has been quite a journey, quite a process, and I'm happy to be where I'm at, and I'm happy I've done what I've done, and I am also happy that I'm doing this video, so that I do have this point of support for myself, where I do kind of create this solid memory of within myself, or within my speaking and me living this. It becomes part of my living memory within myself of I'm walking these points, I'm speaking these points, I'm making these commitments. This is where I'm at, this is my plans, and I'm giving myself time in this video where now it's about an hour, so it's really walking it fully. So that's quite cool. And there is so much information here. But yeah, this is what I live in my life. And yeah. And And of course, now that this isn't my main goal, but I'm walking main dimensions of my life at the same time, so it is, let's say, main goal. It's a main goal among many main goals, which I am just going to be walking it within wherever I have the time and space. So, anyway. So, I'm going to continue living my life and walking my everyday points and slowly but surely walking my life into where I want it to be. And that is who I am, and I'm happy. Okay. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something. And yeah, you can like and share. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.